Hey, we're back. Also, by the way, I don't think they can hear you at all, unfortunately, like, your mic is muted or something. Oh, no. Oh my goodness, they heard me, but not you.
They've reset everything, dude. It reset literally everything. Sorry about that, everyone. The power outage reset all my settings. So not only did it reset everything on Discord, it also reset my microphone input to nothing on OBS. So terribly sorry about that, everyone. What a way to return. Am I telling you? Oh man, I was going through such a good intro.
Oh.
Oh man, I'm telling you, I get no respect around here.
Oh,
Oh
boy.
man, the power goes out and then OBS mutes me. Oh man, you can't get a word in edgewise around here. Oh man. But anyways, we are back now. Terribly sorry about that, everyone. But it is time for us to get on back into the news while Matthew's over there laughing like Jeff Bezos. Like he's a,
Oh!
whoa!
Yeah, I was thinking too, I was like, "Oh, this is going smoothly. We're getting it back on nice and smooth. The intro's going good," and then they couldn't hear a thing.
Oh man, I need a desk and a chair and a trip to DC now. Oh man. But anyways, with that, it is time for us to get on back into the news. I believe we will be making sure. By the way, I just want to make sure to clarify this for everyone who is returning. If you did throw in a super chat in the last stream, do not fret. It will be addressed in this one, and we also will be trying to address all. Well, we will be addressing all the super chats that come in on this stream as well. Just to let y'all know, just in case y'all are wondering how that's going to work. We're not going to be skipping any questions. So with that, we're getting right back into the news. Moving on into Ukraine, we were able to see that the Ukrainians were shooting down a large amount of drones last night. We were able to see this being conducted by one of the Ukrainian air defense brigades near Kyiv. They're putting down that flyer. Huh?
They're giving them that gush gun.
Man, I can't hear you over the sound of the gush gun. Like, now you see here the shot down drones. Very great to see. Man, I gotta tell you, I'm not gonna lie, I was really thrown off kilter by the power just going out because I had like the whole monologue in my head, and whenever anything like that happens, the whole thing goes out of my head. Beyond that, the air defense report was good. We were able to hear that 71 out of the 123 drones were taken down, along with 6 Iskanders and another 40 drones taken down by electronic warfare measures. So, an incredibly good report, and great to see the air defense doing incredibly well. Moving on from that and into the Kursk Oblast, we were able to see the Ukrainians repelling a Russian assault on the northern flank near to the area of Koronivo, as the Russians were attempting to push on the Ukrainian defensive line behind their offensives, and it appears that it did not go well as they sustained significant and considerable losses in this incident. When you see the middle vehicle getting hit first, so someone said, make Andrew buy a battery backup for the computer. Would not matter. The internet's still going out, so it wouldn't matter that much. Good idea, though. But it just wouldn't count, you know. I mean, you see here, the Ukrainians are just slamming them. I mean, goodness gracious.
Giving it to them. Look at that. Catching the barn on fire.
Aw, man. Look at those Russians grifting. Aw, man, that guy's doing the shimmy. Aw, man.
What was he doing down there?
I don't know. I think he was just, he was having fun. That's all I know.
Oh.
Oh, and they're wandering.
Aw, man.
Aw, man, it's time for a desk and a chair and a trip to DC. He's still trying to get that trip to DC, folks. Just to let y'all know. He's been trying for months now. Hell, at this point, he could have just walked to DC with how long it's taken.
Yeah, really.
But we
Oh,
can
look at him. He's going so fast, he tripped and fell, too.
he was going, and then just tripped and fell. Oh, and that's the end of the clip. But very nice to see they were able to repel that assault. Moving on from that and up into the area of Pokrovsk, we were able to see the Ukrainians hitting some North Koreans. They're back on the front. And here it is. There is the North Korean. A lone North Korean, mind you. And, oh, unfortunate.
Oh, my God.
He's like, is that really a drone? And it is. But that's the
Why
end
did
of
he
the
turn
clip.
around like that? He may turn around like it was like a movie or something.
Man, well, you know, in North Korea, man, the best experience they have for warfare is the movies. So I guess he was just trying to recreate what his favorite character looked like. But we also got to see here the Ukrainians also giving it to him again up here in this area. This is a North Korean running around with a thermal blanket, acting like it's an invisibility cloak. He doesn't really know it does not work that way. So the drone is going to get him. This guy's really giving a run
like
for the
Batman
money
or something. He's giving him a Marvel movie piece of money real quick. Jeez, man, it's like a freaking like bear or something running around.
Oh, and they got him. Man, honestly, man, he was giving it a good try. It just didn't work. That's all. But moving on into our next clip, we also got to see a four-wheeled machine gun drone carrying a trailer. And look at that.
What in the hell?
Innovation. This is a Ukrainian drone, by the way. Pretty neat. It carries a machine gun and a trailer.
That's oddly disturbing, though, to see that thing running around. No one can just chop you up.
Man, call that thing the chopper because that thing be. But moving on from that and into our next bit of news and the location unknowns, we were able to see a Leopard 1 in the Ukrainian army with a cope cage and a whole bunch of Contact 1 ERA because no vehicle in the Ukrainian army is complete without Contact 1 ERA, as seen here. We also got to see in our next bit of location unknown news, some wounded Russians are being sent back to the front because that's what they do. And here's the clip.
Вообще такое месиво, грязь. Это просто трэш. Но это наш маленький
Man,
раненый
the hot
солдат
dog
идет.
people are trying tonight, man. I haven't seen this in a hot minute, but I've seen you ban like 5 hot dog man people.
Ну-ка, стой.
Oh man, glizzy gobblers.
Я не поняла. Это
It's
ты-
time
ты
to begin
раненый?
Operation Destroy the Enforcer again. Ends up destroying his own channel once more in the process. Boo hoo, they got me. You know, something like that.
He got us a whopping 400 or 500 Twitter followers today, thanks to his antics.
I do thank him for that.
Yes, thank you, Hot Dog Man, for the glizzy gobbler.
Like, hot dog man may be gobbling up them glizzies faster than you can make them. But one thing I will give him is that he was the biggest draw of Twitter followers we've ever seen in recent months.
Man, if he keeps getting his Twitter followers like that, he can keep gobbling all the glizzies he wants.
Oh man, let me talk hot shit about them by getting on stream and pulling up a live tweet. What does it say? It should be something totally in support of the current president. Okay, never mind. We're just gonna move on from that one. Like, oh man, but that's the end of the clip, and we can see the wounded are returning to the front. Moving on from that, we also got to see a picture of a Ukrainian F-16 with the landing gear down. I'm not sure if it's taking off or landing. I'm fairly sure it's taking off at this point because it appears to still have its external fuel tanks on. But interesting enough, it's carrying a loadout, if we can call it that. It appears to be carrying 2 AIM-9s and 1 AIM-120, and that's it. So it has 3 missiles on this F-16. Not an incredibly large amount. Moving on from that, we also got to get the Russian casualty report today, and it does appear that it was interesting. Oh!
Oh, look at that. We got one more Bombcat skid steer. I think they're going extinct, but tell us more, yeah?
Man, the casualty report was incredibly good. Miss Decent, keeper of the records, got us the breakdown. Tanks should be +9, not +27, but the total is correct. Troop losses drop, but other categories are at or above the 7-day averages. 160 drones lost is the 3rd highest daily loss, and 121 supply vehicles is tied with October 31st as the 16th highest day. Special equipment is steady at about 1 a day at this point. Not an incredibly high number, but not bad. Nevertheless, time to get into the casualty report. 1,150 Russians and Norks were wounded and killed in the past 24 hours, along with 27 APCs, 121 supply trucks, 9 main battle tanks, 53 artillery pieces, 164 drones, 1 MLRS, 1 cruise missile, 1 anti-aircraft warfare system, and 1 Bobcat skid steer. Overall, not bad, and good to see that the Ukrainians are still inflicting decent losses on the Russian Federation forces. Meanwhile, in the northern area near Kupiansk, we also get to see the Ukrainians hitting some Russians in Kharkiv. Here's the clip. And we can see them coming on down, and oh, right into the roof! Raise the roof! Oh, the video's buffering. Hopefully we just... Oh. And here comes the next one. They appear to have hit another vehicle. And holy moly, they're hitting a KAMAZ!
Down with KAMAZ.
Man, I'm telling you. We're going to turn it into beachfront property. But we can see another KAMAZ getting hit right there. And also a Lada of a sort. There's a whole lot of nothing. But anyways, we got to see more of them getting hit. You can see them just slamming them. I mean, geez. Holy moly. And that's the end of the clip, but very nice to see that they were knocking them around a little. Putting some dirt in their eye, I suppose. Moving on from that and down towards the area of Klishkivka, we got to see a Russian destroyed T-62M. Pictures made today. That thing was cooking. Holy moly.
Oh, man, it did cook. Look at that. Let him cook. Look at that guy holding on to it, too. He's a little bit shy about that tank, but look, he likes it.
Man, and that thing was destroyed on a railroad, of all things. Bizarre. But moving on from that, somehow railroads are always around every night. Am I right? But moving on from that and down into the area of Touretsk, we were able to see the Ukrainians dropping a flag in the middle of the industrial area, an industrial chimney, as they called it, in the city of Touretsk. And we can see them here getting on down to that industrial chimney. And we can see them trying to gently place it. Oh, that went in. They don't want it in there. They want it to be seen.
So I see here, let's see, General Jaker, he put in a $20 super chat. And he mentioned something about a Poly 103 class. I also went through those classes, Mr. General. And he said, I thank y'all for helping me to get reliable information. And I'm glad we helped you get reliable information for that. It brings me back to the old days, back when I was in those political science classes.
Man, I remember back in my history classes in my capstone, I remember that I had to do a capstone project, which means I had to get like firsthand accounts and sources and everything for a historical event, which could have been any period in history. But I went with the war in Ukraine, man. So I remember, man, like I did the presentation and the professor asked, so what are your sources? And I just went back a couple of pictures to the actual source because I actually had pictures of the people who told me what went on at the Battle of the Hosmel. I was like, oh, this one right here and this guy right here. And he was like, oh, really? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I talked to him. I was like, I interviewed him and got the story. So there is actually like a full-blown deal that I have that's actually kind of cool. You know, that would be a cool thing to make a documentary on, Matt. He was like the Battle of Hostomel and speaking about the specific actions of the battle. That actually would be a cool one. But moving on.
That would be neat.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. But moving on from that and down to the area of Otratine, we also get to see the Ukrainians hitting some Russian drones down here. We got to see here, oh my goodness, they're getting copyrighted. They're getting on a jet and they're heading over to Ukraine. Like I don't know, y'all. I feel like Universal really wants to protect those. Banana. And I got to tell you, the Ukrainians are really smacking them around. I'm not gonna lie, that's just incredibly weird to see something like that.
It really is. I didn't think the minions were in this business.
Man, they're like the Ukrainian symbology of their units is just so interesting. Some of them do Warhammer 40K, some of them do and then some of them do minions. I just don't really know like where like I just don't know what to make of it anymore. They use anything at this point. But I gotta respect it. It's new. It certainly is
They're
new.
even zooming in on it. What the hell's this though?
The blobs. I don't really know.
That's like that thing at Scooby-Doo that goes, "Ah!"
Your mic cut out.
Oh, damn, man. It was the whole thing.
Dude, you went, oh, and then it just cut out after that, so it sounded bad. Like, I was like, oh, no. But we also get to see some Russians surrendering as the Ukrainians are now pushing them back and away from Pokrovsk again. And here they come. In the line, Bliet.
Walking in line, yes.
And also, I know someone's about to say, man, Ukraine doesn't have any symbols like that. Man, there's a drone unit out there called the Luftwaffe, and it is like on the nose. Like it's just very on the nose. I'm gonna be honest on that one. But that's the only unit I know of that does that. But you get every single kind of symbol for every unit now in the drone forces. There's literally like a million of them. But moving on from that, also Jack Jelly said, do the Popeye voice. Wow! Hopefully that came through. But anyways, moving on from that, we also got to see the Ukrainians firing a banana near Pokrovsk. Man, what a shot. What a shot. But moving on from that and out of that little bit of news, and further on down the lines into Velika and Novosilka, we also got to see Ukrainians taking out a super cam with some super music. And we can see here the drone chasing down the super cam.
Also, by the way, Enforcer, we have some breaking news that just came out right now, by the way, if you would like to go ahead and cover it.
Oh, please, by all means, tell us. What is it?
So we're hearing right now, we were speaking about the Europe standing up and speaking up about Ukraine having a role in negotiations about the peace talks for the war. So it sounds like France, Germany, Poland, Italy, Spain, and the UK, according to the report I'm seeing right here, have apparently signed a joint statement vowing to protect Ukraine's sovereignty and demanding they have a role in the peace talks, which is unprecedented, actually, that all those countries apparently have come together to say that. So it looks like, according to this first report, of course, I'll wait for some more confirmation on it to actually get you all that source directly, but it looks like a statement has been issued from many European countries to ensure that Ukraine has a role and a seat at the table. So very interesting. So let's see here. Let me go try to actually get a source here so we can show it potentially. Let's see here. So let's see here. I'll get the source in the meantime, but it sounds like this is probably true. So let me get the source and I'll get it to you when I have it.
Interesting. Thank you very much for sharing that, but we're going to keep watching this anti-drone footage. And oh my god. Someone just tried to say, the Russians use wholesome symbols on their drone units like the Chiro and flags of Christ. No, they do not. I've seen them, and no, they have a lot more Geschlechtverleitment units out there than you believe. Like, I've seen them, and I know. Like, I covered the war for 3 years, so you ain't pulling the wool over my eyes on that one, pal. Sorry. But anyways, moving on from that clip, very nice to see they were continuing to take down more drones. We are now going to be moving on down towards the area of Plohi, where we are able to see the Peaky Blinders also down a couple of drones as well. And that's right, this is the Peaky Blinders unit. Like, if you thought you heard that incorrectly, no, you didn't. It's the Peaky Blinders unit. And we can see here the drones taking out more drones. It's just amazing. Boop. And there we go. There goes another.
Also, by the way, I do have the source now. It looks like this was posted by Weimar Plus, and it's listed here on France's Minister of Foreign Affairs page on the French government's website. And it is indeed a statement from France, Germany, Poland, Italy, Spain, United Kingdom, and also Ukraine and the European Commission. They're all demanding. In fact, they're demanding that Europe and Ukraine have a seat at the negotiating table because it affects all of them. And they're calling on America to back off this position they're taking that it's going to be only the United States and Russia, the enemy, having these talks. So that's a very, actually, honestly, a first-time statement I've ever seen something with that many countries involved with it. So that's actually a pretty big deal.
Oh, that's practically the entirety of Europe. So that's very interesting to hear, and we will hopefully see that creates some positive developments in that kind of a sphere. Also, that's another thing that we didn't even bring up, Matthew. Isn't that kind of unfair for the United States to be the only one negotiating this whole deal, considering that the Europeans provided, I believe, 35 to 40% of all support that's been provided to Ukraine so far?
Yeah, and they should have a say. Like, honestly, and even if they didn't provide that support, it affects Europe and they're our allies. So why not at least give them the courtesy of having a seat at the negotiating table and include them in these discussions as well? That only makes sense. It's fair, and it seems to be the right thing to do. But honestly, I see like several people, like Ms. Disa, saying they spoke up. I was saying that in private today. I was saying someone needs to speak up, and Europe is the ones that need to speak up because they're the ones this affects the most. And I'm glad to see they have have spoken up. I think it's going to take a little bit more than that one statement from Weimar Plus to actually make a real impact here, but this is a good start. This indicates that behind the scenes, all of these European countries are meeting together to oppose this unilateral meeting with the enemy by the United States, which I believe is a really good thing, and hopefully they keep pushing this. And, you know, with that many countries behind it, I think they will keep pushing this. This sounds to be something that will probably cause the United States to rethink their position, which is honestly needed. Some tough love is needed right now from Europe.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an interesting kind of a deal. Hopefully, we'll see that the right actions are taken here in the near future. I'm almost sounding like Chinese at that point. We hope that the best happens, you know, something like that. Just out of the background, everyone's beating the shit out of each other, and then China comes in and goes, "We hope that good things happen," and then they just wander off again. But moving on from that, we got to see the Air Command intercepting some more drones in the south. Oh, and they got it.
Есть.
Yes. There goes another one. And another one.
Є збиття.
And there's the debris to prove that they did shoot it down. Beautiful stuff. Wonderful stuff. Wonderful news. Moving on from that and into Odessa, we also got to see the air defense in Odessa was active overnight, which is always an impressive sight because I think Odessa is one of the most heavily defended in terms of small arms fire in the entirety of the war on the Ukrainian or Russian side. But here's the clip. And that's the end of that clip. But now, without further ado, it's now time for us to move on to Kyiv to cover the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky here on day 1085 of the war. And so, without further ado, here is the speech. Peach!
Bitch!
Man, that was late. Oh,
I'm writing a poem, man.
Man, probably a respectful one too, man. Man, do them dirty in front of the squad. But anyways, with that, here's the clip.
Дорогі українці, українки, довгий непростий сьогодні день. Щойно провів засідання РНБО, рішення ухвалене, буде опубліковане завтра. Захищаємо нашу державу та відновлюємо справедливість. Кожен, хто знищував національну безпеку України та допомагав Росії, кожен повинен відповідати. Мільярди, які були зароблені фактично продажем України, українських інтересів, української безпеки, повинні бути заблоковані і повинні працювати на захист України і українців. І це буде обов'язково. І є також рішення щодо цін на ліки для наших людей, те, що потрібно так громадянам України, є шлях, щоб знизити на 30% ціну на топ-100 медичних засобів з 1 березня на найбільш важливі ліки для наших людей. Уряд повинен представити суспільству всі деталі. Зміни мають бути відчутними і позитивними для мільйонів українців. Це персональна відповідальність урядовців і конкретно міністра охорони здоров'я. Друге, за сьогодні дуже предметні перемовини зі Сполученими Штатами Америки. Була розмова з президентом Трампом, хороша розмова, детальна. Я вдячний президенту за щирий інтерес до наших спільних можливостей, до того, як ми можемо разом наблизити справжній мир. Тривала розмова, ми обговорили багато нюансів дипломатичних, військових, економічних, і президент Трамп поінформував мене про те, що йому сказав Путін. Віримо, що сили Америки достатньо, щоб разом з нами, разом з усіма партнерами дотиснути Росію і Путіна до миру. Також була зустріч з міністром фінансів Сполучених Штатів Бесентом. Ми готуємо угоду, яка зміцнить нашу безпеку і дасть новий поштовх нашим економічним відносинам. Ми плануємо всі деталі опрацювати і так, щоб вже в рамках Мюнхенської конференції та наших зустрічей там з американськими представниками, зокрема віце-президентом Америки Венсом, щоб у нас було готове бачення, як додамо більше безпеки і який документ може це зафіксувати. І ще одне. Сьогоднішній ракетний удар Росії по Україні, балістика, дрони, якраз перед візитом американського міністра. На жаль, є втрати, мої співчуття рідним. Є постраждалі. Очевидно, треба працювати всім абсолютно, хто здатний допомогти з ППО, щоб посилити захист життів людей від російського терору. Війна, на жаль, триває. Захищати життя треба. І треба захищати кожен день. Ми робимо максимум, щоб наблизити мир. Я дякую всім, хто допомагає і хто буде з нами у перший день миру. Слава Україні!
And
Героям слава!
Тривала.
But really quickly, before we move on, did I just see that he said, hold up. Let's see. Hang on. Hold up. I saw something here, and it like blew my mind that I saw it. One second. Hang on. Let me just fast forward like this. Let's see. Man, where the hell was it? I didn't just like see that, did I? Like I didn't just hallucinate. Within the framework of the Munich conference. Are you kidding me? Like, wait a minute, hang on. Hold up. So, wait a minute, hang on, hold up. I just want to point this out. The supposed peace arrangements that were being made now, and that we already said were not that great, and some people said, oh, you're stupid to compare them to the Munich conference. They're literally conducting the conference for the peace negotiation, apparently in the future, in Munich. Like, literally the same as it was done in 1938.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, look at that. There's Chamberlain. There's Hitler. And Mussolini.
Wow.
Like, I mean, like, look, the parallels couldn't be any closer. I mean, they're literally going to Munich.
Yeah, I mean, that certainly doesn't look good.
No, that doesn't look good at all. I mean, hell, you might as well just put, like, if that peace agreement was accepted full on by Putin, you may as well put Putin center frame of this picture and the President of the United States over here on the left. Because it may as well literally just be a repeat of 1938 at that point. That's just absolutely bizarre that it quite literally is going to happen in Munich if this peace arrangement ever was agreed to just off the bat. So with that, that's a really interesting thing. We're just going to skirt over that. Hopefully it doesn't end up that way. But anyways, with that, that is the end of the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky, and that's going to be moving us on into the second segment of the stream, where we finally get to talk to each and every one of y'all. And there is a lot to talk about, as many of y'all probably can tell without a doubt. So with that, Matthew, take it away.
All right, so jumping into our final question segment of the night. And once again, sorry for the power outage earlier, folks, because I know that we don't have everybody back, and hopefully the people that threw in the super chats and the live chat questions have joined us once again so they can hear their questions being answered. I hope so. But with that, we're now jumping into our final poll of the night, and it says, should Europe unite together to oppose unilateral Ukraine war talks with Russia, which of course is an enemy state? 84% said yes, the EU must take a stand now, while 7% said no, the EU does not have the right, and 5% said it's fine, but meaningless. And I would say this. It sounds like they are banding together based on this current statement, which has been issued by at least 7 European countries. They're not happy, and once again, I was expecting and hoping that maybe they would say something, and it sounds like they've spoken up, and hopefully this doesn't fall on deaf ears, and hopefully they keep pushing the issue if it does fall on deaf ears. So I'm with the 84%. I think they should definitely take a stand now, because what's going on is honestly a bit of a travesty right now, and hopefully that can be reversed. But Enforcer, what say you?
I'd have to say that, in my opinion, the European Union should make a stand. They've been heavily involved in investing and financing the war, just like the United States. They have an invested stake. And also, I just have to say this, of course, not getting on the domestic political points here, but I do want to point this out as a bit of a hypocrisy. If the current president claims that the United States shouldn't be involved in anything anywhere and it's everyone else's problem, why the hell are we the ones negotiating the end of the war? Why don't we just throw that over to the Europeans to allow them to negotiate the war? That seems to me to be saying, screw everyone, you're on your own, you're going to have to do whatever the hell you want, but whenever it comes to actually doing anything, we're going to step in right at the finish and then tell everyone how it's going to be. That doesn't really sound like it makes a lot of sense to me. I don't think it would make sense to any reasonable person. Here will come the unreasonable people in the chat telling me that it makes all the sense and I'm just blind. So we'll see those people come in here in a minute. Much like people under the last administration were telling me that I'm just naive and we shouldn't take aggressive action against Iran because the current president at that time wouldn't do anything to him. They'll surely wander around because there's always people. One thing I know on the internet is that there's always people who will back up something even when it's stupid. Like, well, really, there are people who will back up or completely condemn something that's stupid, depending on who in the world they like. That's one thing that's a sad shame. I just got to be honest with you all about the world these days. A lot of people want to blame how badly things are going on the government. I'll be honest with y'all, I really think it does kind of start at the people who are voting folks in the first place, because I'll tell you something, I'll just be entirely frank with y'all here, I'm not really seeing any options either under the former president and the current president that I've been happy with. I think both of them were lackluster picks. I'll just be straight up with y'all. And for some reason, people are stupid enough out there, at least enough of them, that they'll sit there and just insist that this person that they voted on was the greatest. Last guy was not even mentally there, and this guy is mentally here, and it seems like it would be better if he wasn't. Like, at this point, I'll just be frank with y'all at this point. And somehow you got people defending both of them. Like, I just got to call it straight for what it is. I mean, the bad picks. And I don't even know how the hell people ended up picking these people as the best of the lot. Like, it just blows me away. So, you know, that's what it is. I mean, like, that's keeping it as politically neutral as I can, too. Someone's about to say it's political because I bashed their person and not just the other exclusively. But that would be my 2 cents on it, because I don't know how the hell we can just keep picking bad picks. I would be honest with you, like, both of them seem to me to just not be up to snuff. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. Hopefully we'll see that something is done that's right. But I'll tell you something, folks. You'll sit there. I got to say this about the no politics rule. You just won't see people anymore like we used to, you know? Presidents that, you know, weren't that long from memory, you know? Like people like Kennedy or Nixon, just to mention 2 of them that are within the no politics rule from both sides. You won't see presidents like that anymore. People who, as far, you know, of course, both of them had their shady things that they did as well, and everyone knows that, but you won't see people who actually stand up for American interests like that anymore and do what is best for the nation and actually look out for the benefits of the people at large that live in this country. You just don't really see that from either side anymore, at least from where I'm sitting. Because I'll tell you something. You know what I've been seeing? I've been seeing this for the past years. I've really been seeing this for most of that I'm alive. I've been seeing that everyone sits there and believes that they'll vote for a president and they'll do something for the people. Every single time they screw the people over. The people are the last one on the priority list. It doesn't matter who you're electing. People get screwed. I mean, prices on everything go up. Job opportunities become less and less. And they keep promising to people that things are going to turn around. You just got to vote for me. And it's just a wash every single time. It's a real shame too, because, you know, I mean, that's really all I got to say about it. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'll be honest with you, although today has been, in my opinion, a somewhat discouraging day. You know, I'll just be completely frank there. It's been a little bit of a discouraging day for me, and sitting back and thinking about it, yeah, I don't know. And also, Richard, hell no, not that guy. Like, I would be honest with you. I don't really think the good option for a president is in the Congress right now at all. Like hell, I'm not saying that on either. I'm not just saying that on that specific guy. I'm saying that really across the board. Any of the supposed good picks, go look at them. I mean, half of them are involved. Well, pretty much all of them are involved in insider trading to some degree. It's, you know, it's a crazy thing. Like, they're like, and then the people who want to go in there and claim to clear it out, they're a part of it. You know, it's just a. It's something. Anyways, with that, we are on to the questions themselves. So what do we got, Matthew?
All right. Excuse me, goodness. But anyways, moving on to our super chats here. Our first one is going to go to Glock, who's there, who is in the live chat once again. And welcome back, Glock, from that momentary disconnection from the power outages. We might need a new engineering on the power outages, by the way. But anyways, Mr. Glock said, first of all, he put in a $50 donation, by the way. Thank you very much for that very generous support. He said, Enforcer, will the U.S. station troops in Ukraine after signing the agreement to provide the mining agreements for the highly desirable metals and LSA?
No. Generally, the premise of the United States these days is on everyone else's expense but ours. So, from what we understand, the only peacekeepers that would be in Ukraine after the ink dried on the treaty would be European peacekeepers, and they would not be provided NATO protections under Article 5, and they would not be there under a NATO mission. I didn't hear any mention today at all of any U.S. peacekeepers being present in Ukraine. So, at this point, it doesn't appear that there will even be U.S. forces in Ukraine to protect the supposed American interest that we have in rare metals at this point at all. So I hope that addresses that somewhat well, and not really a great thing to hear. And I just don't get it. Like, I don't get it. I'm like, let me be frank here, folks. Let me be frank. Okay, so we say that we need to control Panama, right, for our economic interests. And that's something I can get behind. Like, as far as the evidence that I was able to find, seems plausible that would be a good move. So we will take military action to rectify this issue, and we will openly threaten it. But then when it comes to rectifying the issue of the Russian Federation openly having imperial ambitions and threatening our allies and economic interests with our largest trading partner in the world as a bulk, which is the European Union, then we're not going to come to their defense. I'm just not getting it. It's like, we're not going to protect our trading partners that we make the money with. What's the point of protecting the naval highway or the maritime highway that we use for the trade? What's the point? It doesn't make sense. Like, there was plenty of things. I just want to make this clear. There are plenty of things that made no sense under the previous administration as well. But nowadays, with what's going on with the whole statements made about Ukraine today, I just honestly want us to just start picking apart everything that the government says, because when you actually sit back and think about it for a second, nothing anyone says makes a lot of sense. Hardly. So, anyways, with that, I hope that does address that well. Thank you once again for the support, Glock, who's there and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to keep this thing running, and we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible. And so a huge thanks to you so much once again for the support. And let's see. Melody164, you said, you mentioned jobs and such, unless I'm mixing things up. Didn't the last guy do good? Not really. No, like, the current guy isn't doing that good. The last guy didn't do that good. Like, no one did. Like, the job employment numbers were being fudged a bit in certain ways where they were kind of misrepresenting the situation. But really the way the situation was misrepresented the worst, and it's continuing on in this administration, but in the last administration, this was one that was getting me, is that inflation is high. It's still high right now. It's actually higher now than it was in the prior administration. And the president would come out, that president would say, the economy's great and it's never been better, which just isn't true because, I'm out there in the economy, Matthew and me are, we're paying for groceries, paying for bills and everything, and they're going up every month, like where we are at least. I don't know about y'all. Maybe it's different in other parts of America, but here in Alabama, the prices of everything was going up per month, and we were seeing it. And then the current president came in, and he claimed before he even became president that he would immediately bring it under control, and it would be like magic. Like, it would just be over. And now it's actually kicking off faster now than it was under the last guy, because the current president came in and didn't even fix the issue. He actually exacerbated it by freaking everyone out with a tariff scare. So the last president kind of started it, not really, like that was more so of a thing that both of them did around 2020, but it didn't really stop it or slow it, and then the current one's just keeping it going. It's lunacy to me. And then you'll listen to the political people, and because their guy is in charge right now, it's the last guy's fault, and who in the world would have expected them to fix it this early? Or they'll say something like, it's just crazy. But yeah, but anyways, I gotta say this also. I saw Danny B say something. I love the United States of America. I love the people in it, and I want y'all to know that I'm always going to be here in the United States, and I'm always going to love the nation and the people in it. But I gotta tell y'all, some things, a lot of the things that the government has been doing over the past few weeks and the past few years before that, and the years before that, makes my head spin sometimes when I really have to sit down and think about it. And you can never be a person like me in my position and actually talk about it like fairly, because people don't want to talk about it fairly. Like, there's people in the chat right now, I'm betting, and I'm looking at it, and there is, who are bashing me because I'm bashing their guy and the other guy fairly, and they only want to hear bad things about the person they don't like. So you can never be a free thinker in my kind of a position, speaking about things that everyone's doing that isn't right. You just have to sit there and be in a camp. You just got to think that everything that your side does is right, and nothing can ever be wrong, and it's all perfect. And the other side is just all wrong, and they never do anything right, and they're just stupid, and they want to kill everyone in the country. It's a sad state of affairs that exists these days. And I'll just be entirely honest with y'all. If anything's going to screw over the country, it's going to be that kind of a mindset. It's not going to be the politicians that are being voted in. It's going to be the people voting in these people that are going to screw over the country. I would say that it's been screwed over for at least 16 years at this point, in my opinion, by bad voting decisions. There's never been a good one that I've seen so far. But anyways, with that, it's time for us to move on to the next one.
And also, by the way, like Danny B said, 100% U.S. patriot, by the way. I think actually most people that are here in the chat that are U.S. citizens would say that, except for maybe a small fringe of people would say, they're living in the U.S. and they hate it. But that's like a fringe group of people. Most people that live here, they love the country, but they might not necessarily always love the way the country is going. And that's perfectly fine. That's why I have free speech in the country. You can say what you want. You can speak out against the government if you don't like the way it's going. And people should. That doesn't mean to go tear it down. That simply means to speak out and let your voice be heard. And if enough people agree with you, then eventually the government has to listen, or otherwise they get scared they're going to get voted out of office. But that's only if people exercise their right to vote and they realize that they have a free will. If they decide I'm going to be a sheep and vote the way a party wants me to vote, regardless of how it affects me, then that's when we start losing basically our power in the government. And right now it seems to be where we're kind of at in the situation in the country. So that's why you should not be a sheep. We should always all think for ourselves. And I would say most people in our chat, I would say they think for themselves. Everybody in our chat is pretty much level-headed and sensible, I would say. But anyways, jumping into our next one, this one goes to Rod Palon, who puts in a $50 donation. And thank you very much, Rod, for that $50 support and helping to keep us running. And I did not see a comment attached with it, but thank you very much, Rod, for that support. And Enforcer, what say you?
I got to thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. You didn't throw in a comment, but the support is massive and helps us to keep this channel running. I got to thank you massively for that once again, because if it wasn't for folks like we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible. We wouldn't be able to say and do the things we do on air. And I got to thank you so much once again for that, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to be around. And I wouldn't be able to be the person who is complaining on the second stream tonight about everything, because it just, it just is what it is. I mean, I guess. And also, some word guy said, is social media polarization with a good measure of indoctrination? I'd say so. Like, what the hell, what happened to people actually reasoning whether something is good for them or not? You know what I mean? Like I got to speak about this one, because this is one that's just blown me away. So everyone wants a good paying job, right? Or everyone can agree with that. Everyone wants a good paying job, because that's what we all want at the end of the day. We want to be able to have a good life, right? So the U.S. government just put $500 billion of taxpayer money. I just want to talk about this one because this was going to happen no matter who got elected. I want to make that clear. This was going to happen. $500 billion was just put into an AI company that is claiming that in 2 years, their AI system is going to be advanced enough, it's practically going to put everyone in America out of the job. So no one's going to have a job. Like, I don't know why people aren't thinking about that or are outraged about that, because I'm fairly certain that the last guy said he was going to create jobs, and the current guy said he was going to create more of them, and in about 2 years' time, no one's going to have a job, according to what they're saying about artificial intelligence and its abilities and what it can do. And considering that most people work in the services sector, I damn well believe it, because a lot of our jobs that most people do could easily be done by an AI that has the proper kind of problem-solving skills. And so that was something that just aggravated me, because I'm a very administrative minded person when it comes to running the country. As far as I'm concerned, that is the complete opposite direction as far as I believe we should go than where we should be heading, because we should be trying to get y'all as well-paying jobs as possible. We should be trying to bring companies to America that do that, or we should be trying to foster those companies in the country that would give you all those well-paying jobs, or allow y'all to create your own company so that way you can have your own well-paying job. And now we're going to say, let's pump all of the taxpayer dollars from all of their hard work and the taxes they pay to the federal government. Let's put $500 billion of that now into screwing everyone over and getting them out of the job in 2 years. That is, like, I don't know, maybe that's hype talk by that AI company. Maybe it is, so that way they can get their shareholders happy and excited and get more investments. But as far as that being invested in by the government, that's something that the government should leave alone. In my opinion, I would rather be spending that money on infrastructure improvement projects, things people can physically see where they're still able to get to work, but they're able to get to work in style and in comfort and in class, instead of trying to take away their jobs in 2 years. That's what I would do. But you don't see anyone advocating for that. You don't see anyone out there advocating for the citizenry and trying to make their lives better and improve them. At this point, everyone's practically getting screwed. And instead of anyone standing up for the folks, or anyone standing up for themselves, everyone just keeps cheering along the bulldozer and the steamroller, and everyone's getting bulldozed and steamrolled right now, year after year. It doesn't even matter who's getting voted in at this point.
I don't know why. I don't know why more people haven't seen the AI thing. Like when I heard that being announced, I heard the people who were getting the investments on the AI, $500 billion investment from the United States. I was listening to them talk, and I was thinking, they're basically telling us that they're going to be able to use this money to rapidly advance the development of AI. And they're all saying this, not just one of them. So they're all agreeing, as supposed experts in their field, that in a couple of years, AI will be so exponentially advanced that it can replace most service-based jobs in the United States. And unless you're doing something that requires like physical labor, like hard labor jobs that a computer simply can't do until they develop robots to take that place, then everybody's going to have to switch to basically serving in creative roles. And not everybody's a creative in the country, so that's going to be a problem. And also, there's not enough creative jobs anyway for people to start flooding into. So where does that leave people? Working minimum wage jobs their entire life and not being able to make ends meet to live? I mean, currently, that's not enough to really live in this country right now. That is not enough to live on. So it's like we're investing our taxpayer dollars that we paid into the system to basically put us all out of work. And then what then? It's just we sit around like loafs and do nothing. It's like I don't know if I'm maybe like exaggerating it or overestimating where this is going to go, but that's what the people are saying that are getting the investment. And why would the U.S. willingly invest in that? That doesn't make much sense to me.
I don't even know. It just makes nothing that's going on anymore makes any sense. And you know, it like it's hard to even hit the surface on it, because then you have people who are really political, who then take it one way instead of thinking about it in all directions that I'm really talking about it. Like last night, I talked about how I don't believe that billionaires should be involved in the government. And because we were talking about a specific one that's heavily involved right now, people wanted to take that a certain way. But I'm fairly certain that those same people were deriding the opposite party because of a guy whose name is George, who is a billionaire on that side and backs up and supports that party. It's like, shouldn't everyone agree that that kind of an undue influence is really removing the idea that one person is one vote in the government and how things work? Instead, we all just go, nah, screw that. Let's let the billionaires with all the money, their one vote counts for millions. In fact, it counts for all of us. They really get to run the government themselves. You know, like I don't know. Like I don't know if people find that wrong or not anymore. You know, like I'm sure half of everyone doesn't, because now they're billionaires in, not the other one. So now it's hip and cool to actually have a billionaire in charge. And then when the other group gets in charge, then they'll hate billionaires again. And then that side will love billionaires again. It's just how it works. I say that time and time again, and it just keeps happening time and time again. And I got the curse of seeing it, and then I got the curse of, and then I got the curse of watching hundreds of millions of people doing gymnastics and jumping through hoops to sit there and keep justifying stupid stuff that shouldn't be justifiable. It's just lame to me, you know, like it really is. And you would like to, I would like to beat up on the politicians, you know, and say, oh, this is their fault. But at the end of the day, it really is the people who keep voting these folks in. Like I don't mean to, you know, blame it all on the citizenry, because the citizenry isn't to blame. It's whoever the hell is gullible enough to just keep doing this and voting for the same thing over and over and over and not even pay attention that they keep getting the same thing, you know? But anyways, with that, it is time for us to keep on moving on through. But I feel like that should be something I think everyone should agree for, because me personally, like, I feel like this isn't really political. I feel like this is more so respect for myself and all of y'all. Wouldn't you like it that your one vote counts for one vote, and it's not just thrown away because some guy who has a good amount of money just comes in the middle and then starts running everything for himself on either side? Like, wouldn't y'all like that? Like, I personally would like to know that my vote's actually respected because it counts for something instead of it being counted for nothing. That's my takeaway from this.
I would personally like some assurances to know that we're not going to invest in a system that puts everybody to work. And, you know, the country's already sort of like, this is just my opinion, by the way. I feel like a lot of people in the United States are lost and without purpose. That's just my current assessment of it. And maybe that's just me projecting my feelings onto other people. I'm not necessarily lost without a purpose. We have a purpose right here on the channel. We're advocating for our interest in the United States geopolitically. So that's one thing. But a lot of people will seem lost. And by investing in this AI system here and putting more people out of jobs that they would have typically held and letting technology replace them, that seems to be putting a lot more people potentially out of work, and thus they lose their purpose and their cause as well. And then what then? We're relying on the government to give us a universal basic income or something, and basically we get to sit around like loafs with no purpose. I just don't find any benefit in that. It doesn't sound very optimistic or enthusiastic to me at all. That seems to be zapping every little last bit of who we are as a country out of the people. And I know some people are saying, well, if we don't develop AI and we don't like beat everybody else to the race, then China, Russia, or somebody else will. That may be true, but it's just a dilemma, because it's like we're funding something that's going to be potentially damaging to our society, that's going to change it for something that could be in a bad way. We're not robots. We're not trying to be the most efficient society in the world, because at the end of the day, we have to have good lives as simple humans. So we're not trying to be like efficient and zap every little last productivity out of every human being in the country. You have to have a decent life, or otherwise your life is not really worth living, to be honest, if you don't have a good life. It just kind of gets a little bit mundane, and you're just like going from day to day with nothing to hope for. So I don't know. Like, I'm going to hold out optimism, folks. I'm not trying to be like a doomer or something like that, but it seems like we shouldn't be investing in that heavily, going toward that direction.
I would agree, and also I don't want anyone to take it as me just being a doomer or a whiner, because whining is when we complain and we don't have a solution. What I want is a solution, and I think that the solution is that people ought to start wising up, and instead of always counting on some sort of a God and Savior to come through that everyone worships like a cult at this point through every election, and of course some people are going to go, oh, he's taking shots at someone. No. I watched the last election. I saw the cults form around both of them. All right, I saw the cults form on the left and the right for their candidates. It was insane. Like, I don't even know why people are worshiping these folks. Like, do y'all know who these people are? Like, they're people that have not really done the greatest of things, much like everyone else. Not anyone I would really, put my stock in 100% and live and die for, if you know what I mean. Like, not that kind of a deal. I think people ought to start wising up a little bit and ought to start voting, using their votes as weapons for the large part. If these people don't do what they want, you vote them out, and they're gone, and for good. They don't come back. They don't have a second chance. You either get the job done you said you were going to do to the T, or you're out. People need to wise up. The politicians don't need to wise up. The people do, because the people are actually the ones who vote these people out. People always say, "Oh, well, the billionaires run everything." Well, guess what? They wouldn't if you'd vote the right way. Like if people would wise up a little bit and go, "Hey, wait a minute. This guy's gotten a whole bunch of support from super PACs that clearly go against my interests. So maybe I shouldn't vote for that guy. I should vote for the other one." Maybe that would be a good move. I don't know. I do know that would be the best move, but that's not going to happen because people would rather listen to social media and listen to some dumb BS about each side and then come up with this fictitious realm that they're living in to vote for whoever they want to vote for because, Ukraine's literally got a straw stuck in the treasury and is literally slurping the money out in raw cash instead of getting material equipment support, or better yet, the FDA is over bloated and we need to completely fire everyone in it because they check our food and make sure that there isn't poisons in it or that we're going to get food poisoning. So let's just get rid of them and let's get back to food poisoning because I'm sure nothing bad can come of that. And by the way, let's just make sure that all of our jobs are sold out to whoever is the cheapest, no matter if it was in the benefit of the citizenry or not, because that would just make the most sense at this point. Because remember, everyone, we're not here to actually benefit the citizenry. We're just benefiting the folks who lobbied us to get voted in to make sure that they're happy, and we'll screw everyone else over to make sure that they're happy, and we keep getting paid a measly salary. And then also we can
I think if you shut off social media in the election year, and I know it's impossible, it's impractical to do that, but just as like a theoretical thing, if you could turn off social media of all platforms during the election year, I think you would find that people would probably vote a lot differently than they're currently voting right now. Because I feel like people get brainwashed by social media. They're flipping through these shorts and these little small clips of video, and they're slowly getting indoctrinated because all these campaigns will put out like these short form content on these reels, and people watch them and eat them up. And over time, people get brainwashed by it. They start hearing just lies. And of course, politicians lie about everything, so it's nothing new. But the way they're delivering it to people right to their phones, where people flip through and watch it over and over and over and over again, they start believing it. And then they hear regular people repeating the lie, and they're like, oh, it must be true. Everybody's repeating this lie. and the disinformation just runs wild. The disinformation campaigns these days, I'm not one of these people that's like, we have to stop disinformation and we must start regulating free speech. I'm not saying that, but people need to wake up and realize that not everything you see, like on social media, is like 100% fact, and to use your brain and double check that before you just use that information to go vote. It's just very interesting because a lot of people I know actually vote like that. I'm like, you shouldn't get your political information from Instagram reels, right? And they're like, yeah, but it said this, and I've heard that from somebody else too, so it must be right. I'm like, are you joking? And they're like, no, like I'm dead serious. I'm definitely voting for this person. There's nothing you say to change my mind. I'm like, okay then. I'm like, that's kind of interesting, but
Ugh.
no, like it seems like that's troublesome to me.
It is. I think it's troublesome to a lot of people. It looks like everyone's agreeing with us, and I got to thank y'all for that, because I'm very sorry about this. But I'll be honest with y'all. I'm just gonna be completely honest with y'all right now. I'm not happy with the current administration. Neither was I happy with the prior one. It's just that the prior one, to be honest with y'all, was so slow moving that there was really no way to be just outraged over a million things all at the same time. It was just, this is stupid and that's stupid, and why are we not doing this over the course of, say, 3 years when we were running the show? But now the new guy's in doing 100 things a day, and there's enough things happening every single day that are dumb enough that I sit there and go, what the hell's going on? Like, that's really honestly why I'm saying this, and I'm really just throwing them both into the pot at this point, because that's how I've been seeing it for the whole time I've been running the show. And I love honestly, I'm a little bit angry because I love the country. I love the people who are in it. I've always run into nice people on either side. I've never run into an asshole, really, that has different political beliefs that are leaning towards the left or the right. I see them all as who they are, and they're just people with their own beliefs that have their own well intentions and are working hard and hoping to have a good life. And I see that every single time. And a lot of these people just keep on being taken advantage of by these people who keep getting voted in, and they keep getting lied to, and they keep having a tougher and tougher life, and they keep hoping that it gets better, and they keep screwing themselves down, and they keep getting screwed over. And it's just tiresome to watch, and it's tiresome to also sit here and be a part of it as well. And I just wish that some folks would wise up and start voting the way we used to vote, where we would vote for who was truly the best instead of who we worship the most. But anyways, with that, we do have to get on into the rest of the questions. So what do we got, Matthew?
All right, so jumping into our next question here, this one is going to go to Old Warrior, who puts in a $50 donation. And thank you very much, Old Warrior, for that support once again and helping to keep the channel running. And we appreciate it. And Old Warrior says, a nomination for Vid of the Day, Putin looking off into the distance through the binoculars as if he's looking across a battlefield, and any speculation what he was seeing.
Unfortunately, I would not know. I don't think I saw that clip, so I'd largely have to declare ignorance, but I still thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible, and we wouldn't be able to keep it running. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well, and with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Bex Chitwood, who puts in a 50 as well. And thank you very much as well, Bex, for that support and helping to keep us running. And Bex said, LSA in nice apolitical discussion and love Ukraine, and take a question from the chat.
And I got to thank you so much for the support, Bex Chidwin, and thank you so much for enjoying this channel. And of course, Slav Ukraine, and long live the Lee Spring Army. And we will make sure to take one from the live chat. So what do we got, Matthew?
All right, so the one from the live chat is going to go to, let's see here. This one goes to Aussie Dave, who says, could it have been a type of red flag to bring Belarus into the fight with that drone smashing their territory?
Oh, no, because those clearly came from the east, from the Russian Federation, and that was in the middle of a massive drone attack by Ukraine. So I don't really think it was a false flag, because the Belarusians really didn't make much public comment about it, even a good while after it happened. So I hope that does address that fairly well, and I got to thank you so much once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one here goes to Eric Hutchins, who also puts in a very generous $50 donation. And thank you very much, Eric, as well, for helping to keep the channel running and the coffee brewing as well. And he said, how is it that the Russian defensive lines in the occupied areas in southeast Ukraine appear to be static?
They are entirely along the Dnipro River, and it's practically impossible at this point for both sides to successfully cross and take any ground on the other. And so for these reasons, the entire southeast area has been static for well over a year at this point, and really is immovable by either side for that matter. So I hope that does address that well, and I thank you for the massive support, Eric Hutchins, and helping this channel to keep on running all the way from the amazing country of Canada. And so a huge thanks to you so much once again, and we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Yves Moralex, who puts in a 25. And thank you very much, Yves, for that $25 support and
Hey!
helping to keep us running as well. And we appreciate that. And I don't think Yves left a comment, I don't think. But if you did, Yves, I'll be honest with you, I don't think you left one because I would have put it there. But sadly, I don't have access to the dashboard from the other thing, so I can't check, sadly. But thank you very much, Yves, for that $25 support. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I got to thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. Didn't throw in a comment, but the support is greatly appreciated. And I got to thank you so much once again for enjoying this channel and helping it to keep on running. Because folks like you help us to make this thing possible and help folks like us, the few of us that I feel are on the internet these days, to keep shows like this running and to keep the news coming on out. And so with that, big thanks to you so much once again. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And also, by the way, our next one here is a bit interesting. This one goes to a bot, actually. And I have no idea. Like, you know, I'm twisted on this one because the bot threw in support. So thank you for the support, Peter Ortiz, for the $25 support. But ultimately, though, he ended up going crazy and he's apparently a pro-Russian. So I have no idea why he threw in support to our channel. But anyways, here's what he said. He said, if you cover the news, why don't you ever speak about Ukrainian casualties, both military and civilians?
Well, military casualties in Ukraine, there's really no good number to go off of. The Ukrainians don't publish them. The Russians say they lost 5 guerrillians. So there's really no good number to go off of there. That's why we don't report them. And we also don't report civilian casualties because those are incredibly hard to assess even after the war. After the war, that's probably the best assessment that'll be given. So it's really hard to try and tabulate those sorts of numbers at this moment. Because there are loads of people, loads of Ukrainians that are living in the occupied territories right now. And we have no idea of their well-being. We don't know how many of them are alive or dead at that point. So that's why we kind of have to wait for the end war to be able to get those kinds of numbers. So with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, at least the best I can. And also, I saw someone say, just keep it non-political. The enforcers don't like political stuff. Here's what I don't like, to make it fairly clear. This is what the no politics rule means. If you sit there and say something like, hey, look, I don't really like the peace deal that's being given, that's a raw deal, that's totally fine. But if you come in and say, the current president is a demon and the devil and I hate him and the other party is so good and perfect, that is political and that is grounds for instant bans. Because I'm not here to get into, to have people get into goofy arguments like that, because I don't sit there and live in make-believe land. And people who are like that live in make-believe land because their guy is perfect and the other guy is just entirely wrong. And I don't really like to have illogical arguments like that in the middle of our show. That's also why I don't get into politics, because that whole world is just completely illogical at this point. It makes no sense if you actually sit back and critique it, and then people get pissed off when you critique it because you point out how little it makes sense, and then they're pissed off and aggravated that they feel like an idiot because it really doesn't make any sense, and then you just pointed it out to them. So that's why I don't get into that, and that's why we don't allow that kind of stuff in the chat. So I hope that addresses that well, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one here goes to, also, by the way, I heard that Duolingo owl died, by the way. I saw someone say, rip Duo.
What?
I'm not sure what the hell that's about. You know the app called Duolingo, right? It's like a language learning app.
Yeah?
Yeah, they said the owl died. Like, if you pull up Duolingo, like their logo right now, like it shows a picture of the dead Duolingo owl, and it says that it died.
What the hell? Why would they say that?
Do you see it? Have you pulled it up?
Yeah, let's see. What are they talking about? Like,
what? Let me see a picture of it. Is it there?
Sadly, no, there's a giant ad on screen. Let me, and now I'm straight into the tabloid. So, I don't know what that's about. But anyways, with that, we are on to the next one.
Apparently, I think it's a marketing stunt or something like that, but they killed off the Duolingo owl or something, and it literally on Duolingo's like Twitter page is like a picture of the dead owl. But anyways, moving on here to our next one here. This one is going to go to Zyper Sniper 1, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Zyper Sniper, for that support. And it said, the coffee fund for the enforcers and Slava LSA and the Western world. And Matt, if you haven't gotten yourself Train Sim World 5, yet, then now's the time, 60% off and only 12 hours left or so. Zyper, you'd find it very interesting. The Enforcer actually bought me Train Sim World 5, I think. Is it Train Sim World 5 or 4?
Yes, I did. I got it for you on the Xbox, I think.
Yes. He actually got that because he was trying to get me hooked up on the train simulator on the Xbox. I played it for a little bit. I'll be honest with you, though. I appreciate the Enforcer like getting it on my Xbox, by the way. I'm not trying to like put him down or anything like that. But the Train Sim World 5 is not really honestly my type of game. Like, the Enforcer is free to come play on my Xbox anytime he wants to, but the game is not really up my alley, to be perfectly honest. I can do Forza and the other racing simulators, but Train Sim World, I just can't like make myself sit still for that one for some reason. It makes me want to get up and run. But to be perfectly honest, it's an interesting game, but it's just not my thing. But 60% off though. I wonder why is it 60% off though? That seems like a massive discount.
I think it's a part of the spring sale. And what's even crazier is that they just added the Mittelbahn one, I think. The Mittelbahn or something like that. I think they just added that, which is another German route. Me personally, y'all, I just can't get behind the German routes unless they're like an ICE high-speed train. I just don't really like German trains for the most part. British ones are cool. And I actually, like, I do like the French ones. I think they only have one, which is a CGV, but it's still pretty neat. But the ones that I like the most, really because I'm in the United States, are the American ones. So my favorite ones are like Sandpatch Grade, Horseshoe Curve, I think it's Cayenne Pass, and then also, let's see, there's another one. Oh, yeah, Sherman Hill up near Cheyenne and Laramie up here in Wyoming. So those are my favorite routes in the game. And then there's also a couple of others like the Cane Creek route. The Cane Creek Spur or Branch, if you want to call it that. That one's a cool one. But I haven't really played that one a lot lately. The one I'm playing a lot these days, cannot shout it out enough, especially if you're into like the railroading kind of stuff, is a game called Railroader. Not the mods, by the way. I don't download the mods for security reasons, but Railroader on Steam. This is a great game. Like, I'm not sponsored by these people, but y'all can see it is overwhelmingly loved by the people who play it. The reviews are overwhelmingly positive. Not a lot of people have complaints about this game. It is well made to be an extreme early access at this point, and it is based in the Nantahala National Forest of the western area of North Carolina, and you run the railroad in 1955. So it's kind of like a business management / actual railroad game, but you can drive the trains and do everything on the railroad. And it's so cool. I just recently unlocked the signals, the centralized train control system, and I just got diesel locomotives in the game. It is just incredibly cool, and I love this game to pieces. Train Sim World 5 is not bad, though. Graphically, it's far better than Railroader. It's just that Railroader gives you so much more to do, and it's just such a cool game, and I'm 100% behind the dev staff who are working on this. I haven't personally ever gotten to talk to them, but I love what they're doing. It's the best game out there so far in the railroading kind of a category, and if any of y'all were to get a game, I would highly recommend to get this one. It's only $30, compared to an Xbox game, which is usually like 60. That's not that bad, and it's just so much fun. Like, I've played more time in this game, which I've had a far shorter amount of time than I've ever put into Train Sim World. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. I thank you so much once again for support, Zypersnapper, and offering that to Enforcer Matt. But Enforcer Matt is not really a railroad fan in that kind of a sense, although I did get him interested today in another thing pertaining to railroads, which was model trains, which are really cool. I think they're neat just as like a model kind of a thing. Matthew is into model cars, so he could really get like the whole model train side of things. When he looked at them, he's like, oh wow, these are pretty cool. Because, it's just neat to look at the different kind of paint jobs and different types of locomotives that there are and the cars and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, Matthew, would you like to...
I'll say that my type of games, I honestly don't play video games anymore that much because I'm too busy with other stuff. In fact, I'm swamped with other stuff right now. And when I do get to play video games, I'll typically play like Forza Horizon or something like that. Maybe one of the Forza like main titles. Some other ones is like GTA 5. I'll play that. Assetto Corsa, Beam NG Drive. That's another good one. Let's see here. Call of Duty. I used to play that. Let's see. Trying to think about some other ones here. A little bit of Minecraft back in the day. I'll be honest though, that's honestly about it. There was also a different games. It was like a physics simulator or something like that, like a truck simulator. Euro Truck Simulator is another one I've played in the past. I've played a decent amount of games, but not like a whole bunch of like train simulator style games. That's the one category I've really never gotten into. So yeah, but I see people saying it gets expensive though, Matt, for the train hobby. I invested in some model cars like a while back, like way before I ever got on the stream, and that's the only thing I've ever collected. I probably won't be collecting anything else, to be perfectly honest. I'm just gonna stick to the model cars I've already got and just put them up on the shelf and let that probably be it. Because model collecting does get expensive too quick, honestly. The models these days are not cheap. And even if you want to get into something like Legos, which used to be like only a kid thing, that's now like an adult thing that costs big bucks, which is kind of weird. It's just plastic bits, but it costs like insane amount of money to buy a new Lego kit now. Not that I'm trying to buy a Lego kit, it's just a commentary. But anyways, Enforcer, that's all I had to say, but you have something to add as well.
Real quick, just wanted to share this with everyone because if you are a Fulmer or a rail fan or anything like that, you're probably wondering what is Enforcer's favorite railroad company. Like, everyone has one. Like, a lot of people here in the South, it's either Norfolk Southern or CSX because that's what you see the most. Some people are into Union Pacific or BNSF, or that damn abomination Kansas City Canadian Pacific, which is horrendous. But I don't like it just because it's like a Frankenstein kind of a thing. Like, most mergers were cool, but that one, in my opinion, just wasn't. But my favorite company doesn't even exist. It's the Louisville and Nashville, aka the Old Reliable, which ran a lot of services through Alabama. There's their old railroad map. You can see that about half of their railroad is actually in Alabama. Their liveries were neat. It was just gray and yellow. Which is pretty bland, but it still was pretty neat. But they did have this incredibly cool livery that I was telling Matthew about earlier. This one was the one that they had in the 50s. And they also had another one, because I haven't shown Matthew any of these. They also had another one where it was in blue, and I'm trying to see if I can find that one really quick. Where in the world's the ones in blue? Let's see. That's kind of close. The ones are kind of in blue. Really cool company, though. It ended up merging with Atlantic Seaboard, which pretty much owned it from the beginning of 1901, to create the Seaboard family, and then the Seaboard family would go on to merge with Chesapeake and Ohio to create Chessie Seaboard Consolidated, which everyone knows now as CSX, the X standing for Consolidated. So I hope that gives you all a little bit of interesting information about my favorite railroad, because I know that a lot of people have all kinds out there. Some of them don't even exist anymore, like the Milwaukee Road or Great Northern. But Louisville and Nashville is my favorite. But anyways, with that, I hope that does it.
CSX is the chassis system?
Chessie Seaboard Consolidated. The C stands for Chessie, the S stands for Seaboard, and the X stands for Consolidated.
Interesting. That's fascinating. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. And those two, Chessie, the Chessie system and Seaboard system, or the Seaboard family, dude, those were like major mergers already of a million little railroads. Like, the Seaboard family was a merger of Seaboard Atlantic, Seaboard Air, let's see, L&N, Frisco. No, Frisco I think went to someone else. But there was loads of them, dude. I think the Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia was one of them, and then the Georgian Railway was another. I mean, it was a load of railways that came together to create the Seaboard family, and then the Chessie system was the same. It of course merged the Chesapeake and Ohio with a whole bunch of others, and then they all came together to create CSX. And then later on, they actually got half of Conrail too, which Conrail is not. It doesn't stand for Conman Rail, like a lot of people would like to think, which is pretty funny. It actually stands for Congressional Rail, because that company was created by Congressional Act with the largest bankruptcy in U.S. history up to that point, which was Penn Central, which imploded up in the northeastern area. So then the government went, oh my God, like everything exploded as far as the infrastructure up here. We have to rebuild it. So then an act of Congress created it, Conrail, which was Congressional Rail. And then that was split in half in 1999, I think, by CSX and Norfolk Southern. So then they both got half. And that's why you can see Conrail crap in both Norfolk Southern and CSX. But I'm not going to lie, Conrail crap is cool, just because it's called Conrail. But anyways, that's a whole side note for another time. Anyways, I see a lot of people asking railroad questions. Y'all are trying to keep us here until like 5 in the morning. So we're going to keep going. But with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one here goes to Flash1, who puts in a $20 donation as well. And thank you very much, Flash, for helping to keep the channel running. And he said, hello, Enforcers, and hello, Flash. He said, I'm a bit confused. And now, if Russia runs out of money and can't fund their war, isn't the war pretty much over? And if so, what bargaining power does Russia really have? None, as I see it. And LSA, love your work. And Flash, that was the concept that was being introduced less than a week ago by the same people here in the USA that are currently making decisions right now. They were saying to put maximum sanctions on the Russians, force them to run out of money, put them in a corner, and that leaves them without leverage. So why all of a sudden there's a flip-flop? Hell if I know. It's just confusing. But Enforcer, what say you?
And I gotta say, I thank you for the support, Flash, and I would have to agree with Mandy. That's the exact same thing that we thought would make a good bit of sense. That was the same thing they were saying like a week ago. Now we're hearing something totally different. So I would have to agree. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense. But I do thank you for the support, Flash One, and helping this channel to keep on running. I hope that does address that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one here goes to Ed. Excuse me. And Ed puts in a $20 donation. Excuse me, goodness.
Dang.
And thank you very much, Ed, for that $20 support while I hack up a lung. And Ed says, Enforcer Matt, Irish Ed here. You a bad man, Matt. What? I just woke up from a nap. But you a bad man. Oh, whoa, whoa. Why am I a bad man? I don't know why I'm a bad man. I mean, I woke up and all of a sudden I'm a bad man. But anyways, he said, now you know how it feels to have an Irish temper, LOL. And Ed, I'll be honest with you, I don't even know what that means. Irish temper, I guess that's a quick heated temper. I don't know what I did to set off the Irish temper, though. I don't know. I don't know. But anyways, Enforcer, what say you?
I don't know, Jack. What's going on around here? What's happening? But beyond that, I got to thank you for the support, Irish Head. And I got to say, that's one hell of a temper right there, an Irish temper. Jeez. But anyways, thank you once again. I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Evanescent Wave, who puts in a 20 as well. And thank you very much, Evanescent, for that support, and we appreciate it very much. And they said, do you think it would be possible for a joint letter of concern to be sent by the LSA to the government, signed by any members who wish it, and many voices may have some impact? That would probably be a decent idea, Evanescent Wave. But here's my thing. While it would be worthwhile to send it, because of course you shouldn't think that your voice isn't being heard. Currently, advisors aren't even being heard out. So if advisors are not being heard out, who were literally hired to give advice, then it sounds like that advice is really not welcome right now. But that's just my assumption. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that actually would be kind of true. Hate to say that, but Matthew's right. Right now, just to put this out there, currently we're hearing that the president is not listening to even their advisors, and he just tells them to shove it whenever he wishes and then does what he wants without even considering what the advisors are saying. Generally not what a president wants to do. Like, I'm just going to speak on an administrative standpoint. You generally want the brightest minds you believe you can surround yourself with and ask them about what you should do. That's what Theodore Roosevelt did. That's what Abraham Lincoln did. That's what Washington did. That's what everyone's done. Every president's done that. And so saying that you're not even listening to advisors, it's not really that great of a deal. So, maybe writing a letter at this point might not really mean much, sadly. But it would be a neat idea. I don't think that's a bad idea. Me personally, if I could, like, I'll tell you this, that this would not end well. I know that. But me personally, I would like to try and speak to the president and say, Mr. President, I think you need to consider some other things. Probably wouldn't even be listened to. I'd probably end up, not really leaving on the greatest of arrangements from that kind of a meeting. But I would like to give it a shot, because it's just a horrendous thing to see how things are going at this point. But considering that I'd be going up against not just him, but his whole family, that's largely how it works, I probably wouldn't make it that far. So with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. Thank you once again for support, though, and helping this channel and keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to John McKinnon, who puts in a 20. And thank you very much, John McKinnon, as well for that support. He said, Ukraine shouldn't give us a damn thing with the minerals or metals if things go the currently spoken route. And great work, fellas, per usual, and Slava Ukraine.
And I got to thank you so much for the support. And I got to say, I would largely agree with that. I don't know why Ukraine would ever agree to such a thing, considering that they're, might get possibly shafted. So with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. And I thank you once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
Someone said, it was recorded. You're not the president. You need to go away. Oh, my goodness. Oh, man. Honestly, here's one thing. I've not heard anything back about the White House press pass thing, by the way. I don't know if maybe they're trying to figure out how to sort through those applications or what, but I haven't even gotten word about how they're going to sort through them or when we should expect to hear back or anything. I filled out an application for it, but that's been totally it. And I can't remember how long ago that was. I think it was like probably about a week or 2 weeks ago or something like that. I can't even remember. But heard nothing. And I don't think anybody's heard anything actually. So, I think it just went into the black hole at this point. It's just gone. That application is. But anyways, jumping into our next one here. This one goes to General Jaker, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, General, for that support. They said, currently writing a report on the Ukraine war in my Poly 103 class, and I want to thank y'all for helping me get reliable information. And I'll say and take one from the chat.
I gotta thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And I gotta say, I'm glad that we could help out. It's really crazy to think that we have ended up becoming a source on the news of the war for years at this point, but we're always proud and happy to be in that position. And so thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one is going to go to none other than Danny B, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Danny, for that support, and we appreciate it very much. He actually puts in 2 super chats. We'll get to the first one. He said, "Good evening, Enforcers. Chef Danny here, and I think everyone that is part of NATO should be sitting at the table. And is there any updates on Hamas releasing the hostages? And y'all's show is, of course, the best on YouTube and LSA."
The best, Jerry, the best, and thank you so much for that. So far, we haven't heard any news on the hostage releases happening. I don't think they're happening because most of them are probably dead. And as far as the negotiations go, I don't think that's a bad idea to include practically everyone in NATO, because it's really the entirety of NATO that's been providing military support, so why shouldn't they be there? I think that's a pretty good point. And so with that, thank you so much once again for support, Chef Danny, and I hope that has addressed that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one that you sent in, but thank you so much once again.
Yes, indeed. And the next one from Danny B is another $20 super chat. And thank you very much for the generosity, Danny, and once again, helping to keep the whole thing running. And he says, "Chef Danny again. And Enforcer, what's the difference between the engineer and the conductor? And is the engineer controlling the train or the conductor?" And I heard 2 different answers. I don't know which one is right.
Oh, great question. That's a great question. So, the engineer is the one at the throttle. So let me, let's see. We'll go get a Gevo, cab. GE Gevo. Yeah, that ought to be good enough. Let me go see if I can show you the cab. So this is the cab of a General Electric ES44 Gevo. These are some of the most common ones on the railways today. And this is what the inside of that cab largely looks like. Now, in a modern train, they got rid of the caboose, but generally, the engineer and the conductor used to be completely separated from each other on the train, and the conductor would be way back in the caboose, and the engineer would actually be in the locomotive with the firemen and everyone else. But in the modern day, the fireman and the second-hand man and all that, that's largely gone, and it's just the engineer and the conductor. The conductor sits over at this seat. You can see that he has a phone to call dispatch. The engineer does as well. He also has a place to put down his clipboard with his track warrant and all that other information, and the engineer actually runs the train, well, runs the locomotive, but that also pulls the train as well. So the engineer's job is to run the actual train. So he's the guy who's pretty much running the gas. The conductor is the fellow that is making sure that they have the proper track warrant and authorization, and also making sure that everything runs smoothly on that train. Because back in the day, before the end-of-train device was made, and the caboose used to be a thing, a train practically ran like a large office. The caboose was the main office, and the locomotive was actually one of the smaller side offices that kind of made the whole operation possible, moving them from place to place. But all of the actual work by the conductor for the track warrants and everything else was done at the caboose, along with a whole bunch of other things, including the brakeman. It's really crazy. A lot of people don't know how many workers it actually took to move a train back in the day. It was an actually large amount, because just to talk about some of the people that would be needed, say in the era of steam, you would have to have the conductor, you would have to have maybe 1 or 2 brakemen, depending on the length of the train, though all those guys would be back in the caboose. And then up in the actual locomotive itself, you would have the engineer, and then you would have a fireman or 2, and then there may also be another person up there that's a part of the steam locomotive crew. In the modern day, usually most trains can be run with just 2 people. Maybe they'll have 3 or 4 sometimes, especially if there are helpers or anything like that, and they're manned helpers. But that's the job of the engineer and the conductor. So I hope that does address that well. Great question, by the way, Danny B, because that's one that a lot of people get confused. But the engineer is the one who runs the gas. The conductor is the one who tells him where to go and make sure that the train is actually running properly and there's no mishaps. So practically the manager for the large part. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that well. Thank you so much once again. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to R, who puts in a $20 donation. And welcome, Pirate. They said, hey guys, and you're doing a great job of being neutral politically about the issues and people. And also, I can't think of a better leader than Zelensky, and his nightly addresses and actions prove it. Thank you, R.
And thank you so much for supporting. He's very good with the nightly addresses. Incredibly good, I'd say. But I still have to thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because I'd say he's pretty good at what he does as a statesman supporting his country. I think he does a pretty crack job at it. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. Thank you so much once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Love is Everything, who puts in a 10. And thank you very much, Love is Everything, for the support also. They said LSA community rocks and question to the live chat.
And thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And the LSA is an amazing community, truly an incredible one. And I got to thank you all for having the tolerance to bear with me through my rant in the second part of the stream tonight, because the power went out, and also I was kind of just a little bit aggravated about what went on today. But I got to thank you so much once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible, and we wouldn't be able to keep it rolling. Also, really quickly, I see so many people asking, what is a caboose? That sounds like a fun word. I cannot believe that so many people have not heard what a caboose is, because I remember back in my day, which wasn't that long ago, I heard all about cabooses. The caboose is the little car that would be at the end of the trains back in the day. It looks like a little passenger car, kind of, and it kind of is, because it was a little mobile office and kind of like a sleeping bunk for the crews. Way back in the day, like, it was really important for these things to actually have bunks in them, because some of the areas that trains would run through is so remote, and there was so little infrastructure in between coaling stations, that you pretty much would just switch out the crew in the caboose, and one of the crews would be sleeping and the other one would be running the train. So the caboose was actually a very important part of it. And also, the caboose made sure that there was proper air brake pressure through the train, because if the caboose lost air pressure and the brakes applied, you know that one of the air hoses is broken somewhere along the train, or that there may be a breakage of the train and it's split into two pieces, which could be an issue. So that's what a caboose is. And there's loads of different kinds, like, well, kind of loads of different kinds. They all serve the same purpose, but there were some different designs, different sizes. These were the common ones you'd see in the South, though. You didn't have that little, like, doghouse thing on top of it. You actually had these side protrusions on both sides of the caboose that would allow you to look forward and back really towards the signals. But anyways, hope that does address that well. Hope that tells you a little bit about what the caboose is. But anyways, with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Michelle Esquera, who puts in a 10. And thank you very much, Michelle, as well, for that support. And they said, Matt, I heard the same thing, that the minerals are for future weapons. And also, I believe I heard the president say that Ukraine was getting some of their land back in one of his press conferences. The weapons thing, I did hear that as well, like you mentioned. I will say about the getting the land back, I heard him say that he was going to go back to some, what was it, 2014 borders or something like that. I think that's what he said today. Yeah, possibly. But that was just a possibly. That wasn't even a guarantee, even at that. So, you know, it's just a mess. I wish I could say for certain, Michelle, but I think your guess is as good as mine. But Enforcer, what say you?
I think your guess would be as good as ours as well, because it's very unclear. I got to give credit. I've never seen two U.S. administrations be so damn confusing in what they say to the public that nobody has a damn idea what any of them are doing. And it's really aggravating, because we got to try and make sense of it to tell all of y'all what's going on, and we really honestly don't have a clue at this point what the hell's going on. And that's also a part that's getting me angry tonight too, because the Secretary of Defense says one thing, the President's saying another. Who do I take? I don't know. At this point, who even knows? Like it could be that the President slipped up, or it could be that the Secretary of Defense was given the wrong memo, and then the President had a last change of heart at the last minute, and then he said something completely different, and now that's what they're going with. Who knows? But still, thank you once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running, Michelle, and thank you once again. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Deminiminus RT, who puts in a 10. And thank you very much, Mr. Deminiminus, for that $10 support. I do not see a comment attached to it. But Enforcer, what say you?
I gotta thank you so much for the support. You didn't throw in a comment, but it means a lot and helps us to keep this thing running. And so a huge thank you to you once again. And we are on to the next one.
All right, and also Tia Berry LSA said Switzerland is too small and need a sleeping car for the crew. I guess so. I guess so. Switzerland's a beautiful country, by the way. Like I would like to
Gorgeous.
go see Switzerland one day. Very expensive country, though. I will say that you got to have some. You got to have some dough to live in Switzerland. Look at that. That is just beautiful. Now, understandably, it is expensive to live here, though, because it looks like this. Who wouldn't want to live here? I would certainly love to live here.
Look,
Tia Berry, you're very
Matterhorn.
lucky for living there. Is that the Matterhorn?
Yeah,
That's
that's the
that's the
Matterhorn.
Toblerone Mountain.
Yeah, yeah, the Matterhorn's famous. Look at that, man. Oh, dude, I want to go there one
Oh,
day.
wow. Yeah, look at
That's
that.
just so cool.
How much is a hotel in Switzerland? Let's get an idea of what that costs. I know the flights are crazy to get there, but what about the hotels?
Let's go to Lucerne. Let's just check out here in Lucerne. So the Hotel Astoria. It's $180 a night. That's not that bad. Like actually, like
Yeah, that's pretty steep.
that's
But it could be worse. But that's not too bad for Switzerland, I guess.
well, dude. Considering that here in America right now, a burger and fries is costing about $16, doesn't sound that bad anymore. Like it's actually kind of getting to where it's like that's not too bad.
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad.
And look, you have direct access to the train station at Lucerne, which is just a block away. And the trains in Switzerland are clean.
Oh yeah, man. Switzerland looks like a super clean country. Like it's naturally beautiful, so they have a very big incentive to keep it clean too. So it looks nice.
I've heard it smells like cigarette smoke in a lot of places because they don't really have like the laws that we have here. But still, I mean, what one hell of a place. I mean, it's just gorgeous. It's really an impressive thing. I want to see it one day. But anyways, we won't.
I wonder what the flights are from there to here. I'm just curious. Let me check that real quick.
Thousands
Let's
probably.
see. Flights from Birmingham AL to Switzerland. I'm sure there's no nonstop flight to Switzerland, and it doesn't appear there is. Damn. Oh,
How
God.
much?
Let's see. Let me double check this and see. Should we check Expedia? Let's see here. No, I'm not. I'm just going to do Google. It says to Zurich, one stop, 11 hours, long flight, $1,400.
Ooh,
Is that
round trip.
trip or is that one way? That's round trip. I mean, it could be worse though because I've seen tickets to England actually more expensive than that. So, dang, $1,300 if you want to go one stop to Switzerland. Damn.
Jeez, oh my lord, dude. And also, really quickly, I did want to address someone. Someone said, I would take what the president says over the defense secretary. The president sets the official policy, not one of his secretaries. No, that's not really the case. Look, I'm just going to be honest with you. The president says goofy shit like every day, and it changes every day too. Like, honestly, it's better to go look at his department heads in the federal agencies because generally they stay on the same page a lot more than he does. And most of the time, so far from what I've seen, most of them don't really change what they're saying. It almost stays the same, which lets you kind of know that he's just saying whatever the hell's coming to mind that day. So I hope that addresses that well. Like, I know what you're saying there, and it is a good point, but generally with how we've been having to work our news coverage, we just kind of have to ignore most of everything he says every day and just kind of go with what his agency heads, like the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of State and all those folks, we really had to go with what they're saying more so than him, because he could just change the next day. So I hope that addresses that well. I hope that kind of answers to you why we're working it logically that way. Because with the last president, he said nothing, so we had to go with what the federal agencies were saying because that was the only thing we were hearing. Now the current president says whatever the hell he wants every day, and it is different. So it may as well be just like the last one, where he may as well be saying nothing, and then we had to focus on the federal agencies again to get what the real answer is out of the situation. So, I hope that answers that well, kind of like why it's working that way. But anyways, with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Mike P, who puts in a 10. And he says, I don't agree with some of what you say, but I agree with your right to say it.
Well, I thank you for the support, and that's totally fine. I'm totally fine with people disagreeing. It's just that folks got to keep it civil, and people have problems with that these days. No one can just say, I don't know about that, and just leave it at that, because I'd be like, agree to disagree. But, people always got to go to cussing us out, so that's honestly how it works these days. Or trying to threaten me over email saying, I got it on recording, like it's not a live show or something. But still, thank you once again for the support. I hope that has addressed that well, and with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Will Christensen, who puts in a 10. And thank you very much, Will. He says, thank you for being apolitical, and I really appreciate the transparency, and Slum Ukraine and LSA.
Thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. I thank you for enjoying the transparency and the political neutrality. I guess the more people stay around, the more people might find out why I'm politically neutral, and I guess tonight was probably one of the best explanations as to why. But I do thank you so much once again, because it means a lot that folks really enjoy this channel and support it and help us to keep this thing running, so that way we can make this thing possible. And so a huge thanks once again. And we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to Alvarin, who puts in a 10 as well. And thank you very much, Alvarin, for that support. They said, y'all are amazing and should be proud and fund for the Hot Dog Man PPO. Well, I'm not sure what that means, but they said, I apologize for this ignorant question. I'm late. But I thought the president only requested rare earths, and what happened today?
Oh, yeah, he did request rare earths. It's just that today he practically presented a peace deal that is akin to appeasement. I would highly recommend rewinding and checking that segment out on the last stream, because it was one hell of a peace deal. I'll say that. It's one that may as well just be given everything that the Russians want to them. But beyond that, I do thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, and thank you for the kind words too, and really enjoying this channel, because you're helping us to make this thing possible and keep it rolling. And so with that, thank you so much once again, and we are on to that next one. What do we got, Matthew? What do we got?
And our next one goes to Bex Chitwood, who puts in a 10 and says, here's to the generator fund.
Hey, and thank you so much for the support to the generator fund. Sadly, we cannot get a generator because we don't have the room for it, and also there will probably be some issues with that. But beyond that, thank you once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Baron Blair, who puts in the 9. Thank you very much, Baron, for the support. They said, much obliged for your amazing work. Here's a Panama palindrome. A man, a plan, a canal. Panama. Go enforce your bros. Stay awesome, LSA.
And thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. If it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible. And thank you so much once again for that. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And so with that, thank you once again. And also, someone said, you're not political because you got run over by the Alabama political machine. Well, you know what's crazy? I was actually on their side, and they still will steamroll you if you're not in the group. And that's what taught me. That's what taught me. These people actually don't have your best interest in mind, and they don't give a shit about what they're actually saying to the public. It's all about serving their own interests. That's when I found that out. And then if you look at the other side, you'll literally see the same things going on behind the scenes. It's nasty business. It really is nasty. And that's why I look at both sides fairly at this point. I just take a step back, and I don't cult worship or glaze any of them. I just look at them and go, man, this is actually messed up. Like insider trading, that's something everyone does. I mean, that's not something that, just wicked, so-and-so does, or, Mitch. It's all of them. Like, all of them do it. So, it's like, it would be completely amiss to just look at it through rose-colored glasses and say that only one side's doing it. Everyone's doing it. Why not fix it on every side? But the problem is that right now, one side's in charge. The last one was in charge, and when they did it, it was fine because they're in control. But now the other side is in control, and they didn't like that the other side did the exact same thing they're doing, ripping everyone off. So we're going to go after them and completely hide and justify our screwed up, corrupt actions, so that way when the other side wins again in 4 years, then we can act like what they're doing is wrong, and then they'll act like what we were doing, which is the same thing they were doing, was wrong. That's just how it works. But anyways, with that,
you know why I knew we were cooked in that city council election? You know how I knew we were cooked?
How?
As when the mayor rolled up in his Cadillac, driving by real slow as we were there on election day, doing a slow wave out of his window, and just sort of like staring with his little sly grin on his face, slow waving and driving by in his Cadillac. I was like, I don't think we're gonna win this one. I have a feeling we're not.
That was kind of something where we're like, that seems a little weird. So like, that seems a little odd. But yeah, and I see some people. What else is it? Let's see about the next. Let's see. You always see the other side saying the sky is falling about the next administration. Nothing bad ever happens. Think they were somewhat right this time. No, the sky is not always falling, but the options are getting worse. Like, think about it. Really think about it. You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy, folks? Is I'll just be honest with y'all. Like, I'm just going to be frank, so don't take this politically, because I'm going to mention two people from two different political sides, because this wasn't that long ago, and I think most of y'all can remember them. But Clinton and Bush were far better than any of the options that we have now, and a lot of people criticize them for what they did as presidents. And I'm not going to lie, it's crazy to see, over 20 years of time, those options now look golden compared to the options we get now in elections. Like, what happened? And that was considered to be a downfall from what we had back in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. And everyone was like, what happened? Oh, this is getting bad. And now looking back at that point in the 90s and the early 2000s, like, oh, that wasn't even that bad. Like, that actually was pretty decent compared to what we got going on right now. And that's to make sure to keep it politically fair, because I mentioned both parties. So, I'm not going out my way to glaze one side or the other. And they weren't bad. Like, when you looked at them and what they were doing, not bad, compared to what we get now. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that well, and we're on to the next one.
All right. Excuse me. And also here, I just saw that people are catching up to the news that apparently all those 7 European countries stood up and said something. People were just catching up. We were early on that piece of news. But anyways, it looks like, actually, wow, the Twitter post I put out actually blew up about it. That's shocking.
Really?
It was late at night. But yeah, it did actually. But moving on here to our next one. This one goes to Margaret Hemsley, who puts in an $8 donation. And thank you very much, Margaret, for supporting the channel as always. And said, I joined the channel after the face reveal. The name scared me, but I fell in love with your faces, your handsome faces. And again, a live chat question. Thank you very much for the kind words there. I appreciate it.
And thank you so much for the kind words. And thank you so much for enjoying the channel so far, because it's been a long time since then. It's been years now. And I got to thank you so much once again for support. I hope that does address that well. And we will make sure to get a live chat. So what do we got, Matthew?
And the live chat question goes to Jack Jelly. Unfortunately, did his Cadillac have bullhorns on it like the Boss Hogs did?
Oh, no, it didn't. I wish it did, but it didn't. But I hope that does address that chat well. And also, someone said, Nixon, Nixon and another guy happened, and I know that guy's about to get some people, like angry. So I won't even mention him. That also, by the way, that's pretty partisan looking at it, like, it's like, didn't Carter also happen as well? Like whenever I mention people, so if you're gonna, like, I'm gonna have to mention them fairly, like, that's pretty much just picking on one side right there. Carter was not the greatest president. Unfortunately, rest in peace to the former President Carter. He was a president of the United States and deserves respect. But at the same time, I would have to say he wasn't really the most effectual president. And Nixon wasn't really the most clean president that ever ran. Like just being fair here. It's like saying that it's two people and they're both of a certain part of a political party. I mean, come on, that's completely avoiding that the other party also did a whole bunch of messed up stuff as well, and they're really not that different. And then here comes someone with the fallacy of, no, my party is perfect and hardly does anything wrong, but the other party does everything wrong. Oh, come on. Like I'm gonna have to defeat that one before anyone even brings it up. Are you kidding me? Like, oh, do you even look at your own party? Like I can tell you this: if I describe this, everyone's gonna start calling off the other party they don't like. Insider trading, corruption, nepotism, a complete flagrant violation of the rule of law and justice on anyone who conducts any wrongdoings in any way, lobbying to hell, all kinds of just misconduct in general. I could go on and on. YouTube would probably start to get a little unhappy if I started to go on and on, but beyond that, that is either party. Like, both of them do the same things. Gerrymandering, like all that kind of stuff. Each one of them does it. There's no difference. They're the same. The only thing that they're different on is the people they're conning. Like, that's the only difference. But anyways, and also Jacob Gordon, I'm 100% behind that. I like George Washington's take on parties. They were a crock of crap, and they shouldn't exist. People should vote for what's in their interest, specific to their district. Back in the day when he was president, you didn't even vote for senators. They were appointed by your governors. And I feel like that gave so much more stock to gubernatorial elections, which I don't know why the hell they're called that, but it gave so much more stock to voting for your governor, because you were also voting for your senators in one fell swoop, because they'd appoint the senators that would represent the state's interests. And that made so much more sense than having everyone directly vote for the senators, because it's like, now not only is every state equally represented in the Senate because they all get 2 senators, but the states themselves are appointing the senators to represent the state's best interests, according to the governor who was elected by the people. It's like, nowadays that's just completely removed. The federal government is a different apparatus, completely separate and superior to the states, because all of the elections for the federal government are done directly to the citizenry and nothing is appointed by the states. Like, that that just flies. I mean, like, completely in the face of everything I believe would make sense. Because isn't the states, or aren't the states supposed to be equal to the federal government? Now the federal government, because of that, just completely removed themselves about a century ago from ever being directly connected to the states in any way, or the states having any control how the federal government works. And they just completely detached themselves from that. And it's not like that anymore. Constitutionally, originally, that's how it was. You didn't vote for senators; they were appointed by the governors. And now it's just the other. It's just wrong. I think I personally, like, there's no way to change that now because it's a constitutional amendment. I don't like that. Like, I think that was a bad idea. We should have just voted for the representatives, and we vote for our governors, and then they appoint the senators. Like, that was a decent way of running things back then, in my opinion. But anyways, with that, hope that does address that well, and we are on to the next one.
And our next one here goes to Danny B, once again, who puts in a 10. And thank you very much, Danny, for the third support of the night, actually. That's very generous of you. He says, Chef Danny again, and come mid-May, I will be MIA for 12 days. And I will be doing a backpacking trip. I'm backpacking, and I'm walking to the truck to my backpack and 30 feet to the camp. That's a short walk right there. That's my type of walk.
That's my type of walk right there. And I got to thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, Danny B, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible. I hope you have a fun time backpacking right there. Because I like that it's only 30 feet away. Now, that is a great walk right there. Not too far, not too short. But still, thank you once again. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Peter Florence, who puts in a 5 and says, quote unquote, "You're watching that stream again?" He said, "Yeah, they have their own anthem."
We do, actually. That's actually kind of a cool thing. I think we're one of, like, the few YouTube channels with an actual anthem for our community. It's really cool. And I got to thank you so much once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we couldn't make this thing possible. And so, with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Barry Woodward, who puts in a 5 and says, "I'm disgusted about our government abuse of taxpayer dollars. Why would any government be any different? And we need facts to ensure that our money will be used justly."
Just like, here's my thing, and, like, I'm not making this political, but what is a just use of tax dollars? Like, really, there's no such thing as that. It's whatever the people voted for. So if they vote for someone who says we ought to have a Food and Drug Administration, and then federal funding goes to that Food and Drug Administration for 100 years, to the people at the time and really to everyone else in the future, that's entirely justified expense. And then throughout the decades, we tacked on more because people said, if you vote for me, I'm going to do this and I'm going to add on this, or something would happen. Like, for example, like E. coli outbreaks would happen, and then the president would go, "Why, this is a serious issue. We should fix it by further regulating through the FDA." And then they go and do it. And that's how it worked. And it's like, I don't really get why people, like I heard something today. There was a contractor that was paid $1 million to check mail. It's like, shit, have you never heard of certified mail? It's like, it's kind of the same thing, but for that internal government department. It's like, that was something that I was like, that doesn't make any sense. It's like, what are we going to do? Get rid of couriers next? We're going to do everything through Telegram on the phone? Like, what's going on? Like, that doesn't make much sense.
Also, the condom story was apparently fake, by the way. The thing that I said yesterday as a joke, apparently that was just made up. And the guy who said that, who was lurking around the White House, admitted that was incorrect.
Yeah, because shit's just made up. Like, no one gives a damn. Like, you just come up with something. Condoms, hundreds of millions of dollars of them. And it's just not even real. It's like, and that's another thing. Like, no one's like, hey, wait a minute, this guy just lied to me and just tried to fleece me here on this lie. Like, I ought to be pissed off at him. No. Now people are going to justify him lying because the lie was good because of A, B, and C reason. Man, it blows me away. It really does. It's fathomless. Like who could have ever imagined that when the Ringling Brothers Circus had its last big top, the circus just moved into real life? Who would have ever thought? That's just crazy to think that's the case. But it's the world we live in these days. And then another thing, so one thing I want to point out. The bureaucrats don't really know why some things are financed or why they even have a job. They just have the job, and it was created decades ago. But when someone comes in who doesn't have any connection to the government or doesn't really understand any of the history, why any of this is existing, and then comes in and goes, "Oh, what's up with this?" It's like, what if he just pulls something out of its slot that literally makes an entire federal agency collapse inwards because it was a key integral part, and he just was so ignorant he didn't know it, and he just went, "Oh, undue expense," click, pulls it out, and then the whole federal agency falls apart. He's just like, "Oh, Where are the letters? The couriers. Oh, well, shit, the couriers aren't even here anymore. Like, they got fired. And so like, there's
Playing
just,
Jenga with the government bureaucracy.
yeah, and it's like, who knows which part you're going to unclick and the whole thing falls apart. It's like, hell, Javier learned that well. Like, Javier went and chopped up the whole Argentine government, and now hardly anything works because most of the government bureaucracies were literally cut down to nothing. And a lot of the integral key parts that were needed to run some of those bureaucratic agencies, which is crucial to the maintenance of the whole country, they just don't exist. And it's like, not knowing a lot about how these agencies work and just looking at it as a cost-cutting venture doesn't work too well. Because you know something that's crazy? It takes 30 seconds to load into Twitter now. Because I would assume some of the people who are actually integral to keeping those servers running were fired. So I can't ever get into Twitter quick anymore to get the news. It takes a good damn minute of loading it to get in there, and and that never happened until recently. And I'm assuming it's because of the budget cuts or the staff cuts that were made to try and make Twitter more efficient and lean. And that's not always the answer. To just start cutting people out because you don't know what they do. But it's like, who's to say that that's the golden goose holding the whole agency together and you just got rid of them? And then the whole thing falls apart. Who's to say? Anyways, I hope that gives my 2 cents on that. But I feel like people ought to be knowing what they're snipping off before they snip it and then figure it out later. And also another thing, once you fire those people, they don't have to come back. Like, they just got screwed over. Why would they come back? So if they were the golden goose to the agency, it's like, oh, wait, come back. We need your, 2 decades of expertise and experience in this agency because you were integral to running it. And then they tell you, F off, screw you, I'm not coming back. Now that whole agency is screwed. They have to relearn everything from the ground up. That's not a good thing because now everyone's getting screwed. Because let's say, for example, it's the Department of Transportation that this happens to. Who the hell's licensing all the trailers for the 18-wheelers in this country? Now you just got to sit around and wait in a damn 2-year-long queue. And now the already crippled infrastructure issues that we're having right now and transportation issues becomes even worse. Like those are things that aren't even thought about right now by what's going on. But I would sit back and think about it real hard and careful because messing around with things you really don't know much about and think you're going to be doing some good usually doesn't turn out to be good. That would be my 2 cents on that. But anyways, with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one here goes to Siri, who puts in a 5. And thank you very much for that support, Siri. They said the horrors persist, but so do we. Damn it. XO from Oslo.
Hey, and thank you so much for the support, and thank you for helping this channel to keep on running. And of course, thank you once again, I gotta say. And things keep on turning. The world keeps on turning, as you know. But nevertheless, thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And now someone said, listening to people defend government spending now is crazy. What am I paying tax dollars for? Or are they putting it in a piggy bank? I'm giving them tax money to spend it. Like I'm not sitting there and going, oh, look at that. There's one employee that's getting paid $50,000 a year in this department, and it looks like he might be a little redundant. Let's fire him. Like, no, I don't care. Like I really do not care because those departments exist how they do today because lessons have been learned largely over a century at this point to create those into what they are. Maybe it's a little overbloated, perhaps, but you pull out the wrong departments from these federal agencies and the whole thing could fall apart. Now your tax money is going into a completely ineffectual government department. It's not even hardly efficient. It's not efficient at all. And then
you know the bigger one?
What?
It's not even your tax dollars funding it. Your tax dollars don't fund that at all. In fact, we're funding that with debt.
Yeah, but that's how it would work anyways, even if you shaved it down. Like it's just how it works these days.
Oh, like what do you mean?
Well, like if you shave down the federal bureaucracy by who knows how many people, you're still paying for most of it with debt because.
Oh yeah. That's my point, by the way. Like the tax dollars that come in. Let's see here. Total.
It's like $4 trillion, I think, a year
collected by U.S. annually. Let's see here. It's 4.47 trillion in revenue from taxes per year, approximately. So let's see. Total U.S. government expenditures per year.
Also, by the way, I want to point this out because I heard this one today. This is a good one for you, Walter. Since you'll be interested enough, Walter Garvey. Let's cut down on government spending, right? $176 million, that's a lot of money. That fella today, he found out that the government had $176 million just sitting in an account, and he demanded that's going to be redistributed to the people. So you know how much money each person is going to get in this country that is a taxpayer right now in a refund check by the federal government? $4.30 per person. It sounds like a lot when it's in that account, but when you distribute it amongst the entirety of the citizenry, that's peanuts. Well, $4.80 doesn't even buy you fries these days, or even get you the gas to go down to the restaurant to go get the fries. So,
Well, here's the thing. Let's say that and once again, folks, there's always going to be corruption in every system. Like you'll never cut out corruption 100%. So I'm totally for cutting it out. Like if you can find it, cut it out. Great, cut it out. But at the same time, though, to act like the whole system is just screwed because there's some corruption, that's a little bit crazy. That's going over the top. Because every government system, when you have humans involved, is going to have some corruption in it. I'm not supporting that. It's just the way systems work with humans in it. But it looks like in 2024, the federal government collected $3.29 trillion in revenue, and they spent about $7 trillion. So the majority of the taxes received didn't even pay for half of the expenditures for the year. So most of these agencies are probably being funded with just debt. And the taxes don't add up to actually pay for the entire budget. And that's why the U.S. government keeps printing money, is to basically loan itself money to keep it running.
It's a vicious cycle, and what's even crazier is that most of the national debt, which everyone keeps making into this giant existential crisis, you wouldn't believe it, like 70% of it, we owe it to ourselves. So do you think we're ever going to come in and collect the debt on ourselves and collapse the entire economy? No. So what sense does that make? We owe $8 trillion to foreign lenders. Our GDP currently is around 30 trillion. So we are not even close to imploding. Like that's a fictitious myth, and one that's been perpetrated by everyone at this point, so they can make a whole deal about raising the debt ceiling every single time that comes around. But anyways, with that, I hope that's a good point. Hopefully, folks listen. Some people that might fall on deaf ears, but oh well. Anyways, with that. Also, Adrian Tong said, $4 refund, it'll cost more to deal it all out. Exactly. Like, what's the point of that? It's like $176 million sitting in an account. Oh, yeah, that sounds like a lot to us people. But distributing that across the entire country, everyone gets $4 a pop. That's nothing. Like, that's literally 4 $1 bills. That's it. Do y'all think of anything that you can buy for $4? Probably not a lot. So what's the point of even getting the refund on that one? What's the point of getting a refund on any of it? So
just give everybody a $4 tax break.
Oh, that would be crazy, man. But
Some of the modern government today. Look, we're going to help you out. Here's a $4 tax rebate. Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Also, I like this one. FEMA. We're just gonna get rid of FEMA now. Like, did you hear that? FEMA's just gonna be gone. It's gonna be on the state level.
Wait a minute. Say that again.
They're getting rid of FEMA. The Federal Emergency
Management Agency?
Yes, they're getting rid of it. It's just going to be on the state level now only. So no federal help. Screw you. If you get hit by a hurricane in the south, it's just the state.
Well, the state is only has the National Guard as a resource, don't they?
I think there's like some state FEMA organization, I believe, for each state.
Well, that's FEMA.
Let's see. State.
That would leave them with only the National Guard, though. Like, what's the plan behind that? I'm asking
money.
a rhetorical question, honestly, at this point.
What's up with that?
What the hell?
Oh well,
is that what the? I don't even know what language that was.
That looks like Hindi, possibly to me, maybe. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't look like this. So the Alabama Emergency Management Agency exists.
Okay, so we do have a little something, but I don't really know like how big of an infrastructure this even is. Oh wait a minute, I've seen that. It's in Montgomery right there. That building right there.
I wouldn't count on them for a damn thing.
I mean, look at the building. I mean, you tell it's not being funded that well. I mean, they're not even keeping the building up that well.
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I'd have to look into this. I don't think they get a lot of funding. Let's see. Alabama Emergency Management Agency funding. So, let's see.
They'll make it easy.
They don't make that public, do they? Well, who the hell even knows? I would assume it's not. It's obviously is not as much as the federal government could pour into a program, because if y'all don't know, they changed all the tax stuff about, I'd say 30, 40 years ago, to where the federal government receives practically all the money, and the states are drip fed through their own tax codes, their own tax income. So then at this point, the federal government controls all of the money, and they give it out back to the states in categorical and block grants, which pretty much means that the federal government controls the state's finances, and they control the state governments as a result of that. So, another fun thing to think about, because I would guarantee you that the Alabama Emergency Management Agency doesn't have a damn thing to actually help out if a hurricane hit down here at Gulf Shores or Mobile or anywhere around there. So, once again, it's like, why the hell are we doing this? So I'll tell you why. Because supposedly there was 1 or 2 FEMA employees that were politically biased in the middle of North Carolina in issuing out aid. So now the whole organization is going to get wiped out. So, if you ever get hit by an earthquake or a major fire or a hurricane, you're just on your own at this point, because 2 people were politically biased and wouldn't help out people of a certain political affiliation, allegedly, in Western North Carolina. So now the whole agency is just going to get ripped out of the surface of the earth and disappear forever. What an interesting thing. Anyways, with that, we do have to move on to the next one.
And our next one here goes to Beth, who puts in a 5. And thank you very much, Beth, for that support and helping to keep us running, and no comment to address. But we also have a 3 from Plazoth, and thank you, Plazoth, as well, for helping to keep us running. And I think they've already left for the night, sadly, but thank you very much for the support. And we also have a 5 from Darren Quinn, who puts in that 5, of course, and says, send Alan the Marmot to peace talks.
Hey, maybe that would be a good idea. Maybe we will. And thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to James Moon, also known as Moon Lord, who puts in the 5. It says, take a live chat question.
And we will. And so with that, what do we got, Matthew?
All right, and the live chat question is going to go to Sub the Gator, who says, also, sadly, I can't ask that question, Sub the Gator. That one's actually a little bit political, so sadly, I'll have to skip that one. But our next one here goes to the away team, who says, do we know anything about these optical fiber drones being made by Russia?
We know that they use a fiber optic spool held below the drone to be able to gain access to its operator through the entirety of its flight. It does limit its flight path. It really can't fly over tree lines without possibly snagging the line and losing its connection. But that's generally how it works for the large part. And so that, I hope that does address that well. And I think it wants to give her support and help this channel to keep on running. And, of course, Manny, someone that came in with a bruise, they go, tell us how unbiased y'all are, please, because I actually bring up what I don't like about both sides, and they're like, hey, you said you didn't like my side, too, and now my feelings are hurt. Oh, get the hell out of here. Anyways, with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Adrian Tonj, who puts in a 5, and says, where is Matt's Greenland video, and bada boom, jaga jaga, bliat, Slav Ukraine, LSA, UK division.
Hey, and thank you so much for the support. It came out, and then we hit it, and then we put it on Patreon. So it is on Patreon, and it's also unlisted. So you can still find it. You just have to have the link to get to it. So with that, I hope that does address that well. Thank you once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And it is now time at almost 1 o'clock in the morning to get to our live chat questions. We are now getting to our live chats. And our first one here, of course, is the Morse code decoders of the stream. And we had Cliff Simonson, Mark Hodges, Earl Bernew, Kevin J, Paul Schultz, Dave Millsaps, Roy Fluffiness, Arabelle Garbo, Joni Dog, and Norm Pritchett. They said today's Morse code says, people thought the circus ended with the last big top, and then the world became a circus. LLT, LSA.
And and that's the sound of money. And y'all got that down on the nail. That was the Morse code message of the night. A big congratulations to all of y'all for getting that right. Really impressive stuff that y'all did once again. And I got to say that it's just absolutely incredible and amazing. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. And it is time for us to move on to the third to last question of the night. I'm sure many of y'all know that we were well over time at this point. It's a 4-hour-long show, so we are going to be getting 3 live chats and rounding this thing out. We are on to the third to last one of the night.
And this one goes to Clayton Wilkie, who says, Matt, do you think this will start NATO being involved in the war now against Russia?
I'd highly doubt it, because the lead member of NATO, the United States, doesn't really seem to be that behind the idea of doing anything right now as of today. Hopefully that'll change, though, by tomorrow. And maybe it will. You just never know. Like, it could happen. It could change every day. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the second to last question of the night.
And this one goes to Guamson Cruz. He says, didn't Poland start like some other group or something of other countries that, and something to make up if the U.S. pulls out?
No. If the U.S. pulled out, especially if NATO just survives without the United States. I guess someone would be the successor to the United States. I guess the United Kingdom in the NATO alliance. I would assume. But no, they aren't creating anything new outside of that I've heard of or know of at this point. So with that, I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the final question of the night. And so, who is the lucky last person that threw in the lucky last question of the night?
And that viewer is Thor Axelson, who says, should Ukraine hold off on elections until the war is resolved, or in a manageable situation and change of government?
Yes, they should wait until the war is resolved constitutionally. That's how it works in Ukraine, and I believe that is certainly how it should work, considering that as their constitutional law. Constitutional law should be respected on every level. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, and we have reached the end of tonight's stream. I got to thank each and every one of y'all so much once again for watching. Boy, howdy, how late is it? It's been about 4 hours since the show first started, and we're still here. We're still here. If y'all have enjoyed the stream, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. We got loads of likes in the first one. We got loads of likes in the second one, but one thing that we always love to see is more subs. Please make sure to sub. We would be happy to have y'all, and we would love to have y'all stay. But nevertheless, thank you all so much once again for watching. Good night, good luck, take care, stay safe, and we will see you all tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Time to cover the next 24 hours of the news from around the world. And so with that, Slava Ukraini, and long live the Lee Spring Army. The Lee Spring Army will never die.
And with that, folks, thank you all for joining us once again tonight. It is now officially 1 a.m. in the morning. I must say, a very late stream indeed. But thank you all to the almost 20,000 people that joined us here on the second stream. The stream that got buried by YouTube probably because it was too many notifications in a day, I'd imagine. But thank you all for rejoining us on this stream. And of course, we will see you all tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern and also midday as well if there is a short war news video to cover. And we will see you all on that. But of course, Slava Ukraine, Hero Slava. Thank you all, and good night.